Hey everybody, this is B-Word of the Bleach Brothers podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I want to bring your attention to our Linktree. Please visit Linktree/Bleach Bros podcast for the links to all of our socials, streaming sites, and merch. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros podcast, all one word. If you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like and give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Also, invite your friends. And with that, let's get started with the show.
In a world filled with COVID and chaos, three dads bring to you a riot of entertainment every hump day.
Hump Day! We are Jordan, a.k.a. the Gnome.
Josh, a.k.a. the Dome.
AJ, a.k.a. the Stone.
And together, we're dads on Dayquil.
Between the three of us, we have 10 kids.
That we know about!
We're talking about you, Johnny Six. Sit down, turn up the volume, and crack a cold one as we bring you a glimpse into our dad lives. We break down our weekly events with our dad stories and tons of shout-outs.
Dad Corner!
We bring you dad games. We also cover music, movies, and all things entertainment. Hell, we even bring you the Stone Safe House for off-the-wall references.
Heyo!
So come check us out on your favorite podcast platform, even if you prefer certain platforms that we don't. Yeah, we're talking about you, Google Podcasts.
Meow.
Dad's out.
What's up, everybody? OG Bleach Bro Mitch here, telling you to come talk and listen and visit with my friends Jake and B-Word.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with my good buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm fine.
Why just fine? And why in such a negative tone?
Just life. Life is
Four-letter
happening.
words.
Like, I'm at the point where I don't know if it's too fast or too slow.
Life?
Yeah, all right, remember when you were like second grade, right? And you'd be sitting there looking at the calendar going, I can't wait for summertime. I can't wait for fucking June to be out for like a couple months, just summer. But it took forever to get there.
Yeah.
And you'd hope to be an adult. You're like, oh man, how long is it going to take to be 18? And I don't have to listen to my fucking parents or anything. Now I'm at the point where can everything just slow down?
Yeah. No, I agree, man.
So I'm in between. I'm in the in-between state.
I think there's some sort of serenity with time slowing down a little bit. Like, I think as we get older, we appreciate time a lot more. I actually remember like summers where summers actually felt like they lasted forever. You know, you almost had like that Sandlot style of time frame where you're just hanging out with all your friends, you're doing whatever, you're going out, you're getting into trouble, and like every day was the same day. And I remember summers like that where by the end of the summer, like I was ready to go to school. And then all of a sudden, come high school, it seemed like the summers just sucked. You're working, you're doing whatever, you know, and then you grow up and it's just, I don't know. Summer doesn't exist as an adult, man.
Well, summer exists as an adult. It's just different, right? It's like when you hear summertime, it's just hot and, you know, your air conditioning is going to be on and you have to pay a bigger bill and you might eat more popsicles. But I'm eating ice cream right now. I'm happy. But I don't know. It's just BS, like in the sense, like, do you wish like your whole life time ran at the same, like it feels like the same all the way through?
It depends on what speed it was at.
That's what I mean. Do you wish it was the same speed the whole fucking time?
So I don't know that I would want to have life continue all at the same speed. I kind of think back to the movie Click, where there were parts of his life that he would move forward faster because he didn't want to deal with them. And I think that there was a consequence in there. Not to say that Click is like a life manual or anything, but I do think that there's times that you have to experience things that are uncomfortable in order to move forward.
Well, do you wish you had a remote then? Like where you could fast forward, rewind, pause?
Does it
like
have the same
like
consequence?
Well, no, we're not going to relate us to an Adam Sandler shitty film. Let's look at it this way. Like if you could pause moments in life, would you?
I think, yeah, if I could pause moments in life, for sure.
If you could fast
100%.
forward?
I don't know. I mean, there's times in my life that I didn't really like to experience. So if somebody gave me the opportunity to like move past it, I probably would, depending on what it was. But I don't know.
All right, let me ask you this. So if you were a Fire Stick TV or a Roku, what are you going to be?
Roku.
Why?
Because I've never had a Fire Stick and I only have a Roku.
I'm going to have Bezos in my ass for the rest of my days. I'm a fucking Bezo bitch. Put them all in my butt, dude. I don't even fucking care. No, dude. All right, with no consequences, yes, I wanna fast forward, pause everything. But you realize like it's like Aesop's fables, right? Like you have to have a consequence to everything. Do you believe in that?
I do, and that's where I would question, like, if given the opportunity to do that, if I would do that. Because the other part of it is that if you're on your deathbed, you're wishing for more time. Would you want the time back that you skipped?
No. Would you?
Probably.
I would skip it for a fucking reason. I don't want it back.
Yeah, no.
I know what I'm probably skipping. All right. Do I want to go through the moments where I'm flossing my teeth after eating a good steak? No.
I don't know, dude. Sometimes when you floss, the steak tastes pretty good.
No, it doesn't, and it feels better after. So I don't care about the moment before. That's my point. Like, all right, do you want to feel the shit after eating habanero peppers?
No.
All right.
No.
Now, mind you. All right. Caveat to that: if you had the remote and you knew it would change, right, and it was an automatic, like click, like we're saying, like if you fast forward to certain moments, how many habanero peppers would you eat then? Knowing that it would automatically fast forward through the shit phase.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't change my habanero consumption because, again, this is time that you're missing out on. So if you're choosing to spend it on habaneros so that way you don't feel the habanero, what can you actually spend the time on that's worthwhile?
True. All right. Let me ask you this then. Do you fast forward porn ever, B-word?
I mean, back in the days of like
mid-stroke
VHS, no.
You don't. All right. Let me ask. You're telling me right now you're on Pornhub and you're jerking off, and there's a porn on, and you're not like scrolling through to the part you want. You're just letting it happen.
Well, no, because you said mid-stroke, so there's a difference.
There's a stroke happening.
Oh, like their stroke?
No, your stroke.
Oh no! See, I just don't like start stroking and hit play. Like I get to a point and then go.
But you don't fast forward like when you're stroking?
No, dude. I just go until I'm done and then I turn it off. There's no customization after that.
Dude, I love dual screen computers for a reason, dude. I could put so many fucking things on one monitor at the same time to pleasure all senses.
That's so
like
stupid.
Like what? There's 5 senses in the human body, right? There's 8 with porn.
What are the 8 senses?
Taste, smell, feel, anal, tentacle, weird shit, something you're not proud of, piss on me, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm all about that life. And speaking of good things in life, let's go ahead and take a break so that way we can make some money.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Date Money, and every Monday join us on every streaming service on the Bro Migos podcast.
Come talk shit with your boy Panama Red.
And you better not forget me, head advocate of the Big Titty Committee and undercover brother, Motorboat and Matt.
And me, Hoochie Daddy Sleppy. I guess my new name is Hoochie Man Hunter.
Yeah! I was hoping you were going to say that.
We talk all things sports, sex, and more. Coming to you raw and uncensored. Ain't nothing off limits.
So as you know, we've been advertising on social media that we're going to do Keanu Week. And so with Keanu Week, we're going to be talking a little bit about his movies, his characters, some other fun facts about him. And that being said, man, how were you introduced to Keanu Reeves? Do you remember the first movie that you really enjoyed with him?
Speed.
Okay.
First, here's the thing. I probably watched movies with him before that, but that was the movie I actually recognized. Like, you know, when like you go through moments and like you're proud of your parents for stupid things. Like one of the moments I had as a kid is my parents always knew who people were in movies. And I was like, how do they know that? How do they know that person? How do they know what other films he was in? And that was like a thing for me. I wanted to realize that later in life. And then I realized like it's not hard.
Right.
But that was for me. Speed was it. And I don't know, it was just a fun. My dad loved fun, stupid action films. Like I just went and saw Bullet Train like you did. Like it's a nonsensical film, right?
Great film.
It's great, but there's like you can go and just shut your brain off and be happy at the end. Speed's that movie. You can shut your brain off and be happy. So that was the first one I was introduced. How do you?
Babes in Toyland. You ever see that?
Yeah.
With Drew Barrymore?
Yeah. That's it. That's your Keanu Reeves moment.
That was my first introduction to Keanu Reeves.
Wow.
CINNATI Cincinnati. That was it. I actually think that was a TV movie. I don't know that was an actual movie.
Yeah, wasn't it for ABC?
I don't know. I remember. I think I actually saw it on VHS, but I don't think it was made for movies. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I remember it was at a time where like Barney was a thing, like the dinosaur, and the villain in that one. Yeah. And the villain was Barnaby, and I kept confusing them because I thought it was Barney and Barnaby. So that was my first introduction.
How old were you?
I don't know, man. Probably 7, 8, maybe.
See, my other problem is I confuse Speed with the movie with Charlie Sheen where he's driving a car that won't stop.
I don't even know what movie.
And he has sex in the front seat while he's driving. So when I was going through like my mid-20s, all I tried to do was bang chicks while driving home. And it's all based on that. And I confuse the two films all the time. You have a guy with black hair who is a sort of a heartthrob for no reason, and a chick trying to help him stop a car.
Yeah, I don't think that would have probably been a better transition from porn than to go from Keanu.
Yeah.
But speaking of Keanu's movies, obviously he's been in a number of movies. Some of them are absolutely terrible. Some of them are fantastic, and he's played some really bang up characters. If you're going to talk about Keanu Reeves characters alone, what characters stand out the best for you?
Character-wise, Constantine.
Okay.
Due to my comic book alliance.
Right.
I think it was actually a really good adaptation to film that was misrepresented and misjudged, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The other one is Bill and Ted. I think it sums up Keanu Reeves in real life. Like, I don't know if you know the stand-up comedian Pablo Francisco.
Mm-mm.
So he got famous by doing like impressions of actors. And his impression of Keanu Reeves is so funny because it's like, we knew too much. They know too much. And he's waving his hair back. And it's the epitome of like Keanu Reeves in like the 90s when he became big. So it'd be those two characters because I think Bill and Ted represents him growing out or growing up and growing out of Hollywood. And Constantine for a character that was probably one of the greatest characters. I understand John Wick and a lot of things are going to make people's list. I get that. But I'm talking about character development before movie development because Constantine's not a great film. John Wick's a great film. The character of Constantine is better than John Wick. John Wick is, if you look at him on paper, is a fucking boring character. It's The Crow meets Jackie Chan meets some fucking asshole who wants to shoot everybody, right? So you can name Jason Statham, anybody you want. And is that Keanu like as a great character? No. Is that a great character on film? No. Like Neo from The Matrix is not a great character. He's a guy who's just confused, bumbling around until he realizes he's Jesus.
Right.
Like, good for him. Yeah. But who are yours?
So there's categories of Keanu, I guess. Like you brought up Bill and Ted. I think Bill and Ted is probably his most defining character, at least early on in his career. But then he took a turn with both Speed and Point Break, where he became this like action kind of character, and he, especially with Speed, because he was the main character. I wouldn't say he was the main character in Point Break, and so he took on that leading role. But then there's also characters like Shane Falco and the Replacements that are really good. But I think if I'm going to talk about like my favorite Keanu character, I think I have to go with Neo. I think Neo was like his ultimately defining role. And it was one of those movies because prior to The Matrix, like he was a known actor, but prior to The Matrix, like he was never going to be that hardcore action leading man character. And I think that's really the movie that really spun into different things. Now, granted, he's chosen not to do movies and different movies and all this sort of stuff that's affected the career trajectory. And we can get into that a little bit later. But I think Neo is the greatest character.
See, it sounds like you're putting dollars behind it though. Like the movie that made everything the biggest is for him. Like, because okay. I
think you can do like Johnny Mnemonic. I mean, there's other characters that are really good characters, but I think that Neo just had the depth of the character that I was looking for.
Okay, we'll disagree on that.
Yeah. So, what would you say are his greatest films?
Best films for me. 2 honorable mentions. Number 1, Speed.
Okay.
You know, one of the first films introduced to. Point Break is number 2. I know it's one of your favorite films. I don't love the film as much as you do.
Okay.
I don't find it as enthralling. I've never been a Point Break guy. I get the concepts behind it. I like it. It's just, I think it's one of those things I watched it way too late.
Okay.
It's like we had people on Twitter arguing with us that Godfather is not as good now as if you would have actually watched it in its heyday, or even in the 90s, right? When you can go to a movie store and rent the 2 VHSs and watch it all the way through. But if I was to do it, number 5 for me is The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, I love The Devil's Advocate.
I love him and Al Pacino. I think Al Pacino helped him become a better actor just based on that film. Because it seems like when he's doing it, there are scenes where it seems like he's just looking at him in awe, but they just kept filming and kept that on not the cutting room floor. They kept it in the film instead of the cutting room floor, which is great about it.
Right.
Number 4, Constantine. Love the film, like the comic. I thought it is underrated. I thought they did a good job. Number 3, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, is A Scanner Darkly.
I've never even heard of that movie.
So it's a watermark, weird, like avant-garde art film.
Okay.
And it's done in like shell shading. So it's not even like real life. It's like they remember when you can go on Paint and you could take a picture of yourself and make it like watercolor.
Yeah.
Imagine you film a movie and you put it all in that watercolor, like I don't know, filter.
Okay.
And it's about dreams and like how you develop through them and stuff. But I love that film. It's one of those independent films. Like I've always watched it. I've always liked it. I always show it to people. I introduce people to it. So it always has a special place in my heart. And Keanu Reeves is in it. Number 2 would be Bill and Ted. And I can't name which one. I mean, Bogus Journey for me is my favorite. Excellent Journey is the start.
Excellent Adventure.
Or Excellent Adventure, sorry. They're an amazing 2 films.
Did you watch Face the Music?
No. I tried and I cannot get through it. Have you?
Okay. Yeah, same thing. I just couldn't get through it.
I've fallen asleep every time, and I just don't. I'm not that in love with the nostalgia that I can sit through the whole fucking thing.
Right.
But when I say Bill and Ted, I put both films together in category 2, and I know it's cheating, but it's like because they're both important.
Right.
There's an importance of both, and he's the same character through both of them. So I mean, you could literally play them back to back, and if you didn't tell me they were 2 movies, I understand they are, but you know what I mean. Like I could put them together. Number 1's The Matrix, though. Even though I said Neo's the most underdeveloped bullshit character, the cash grab is alive. It's on a hierarchy that is the epitome of nuance that is new, like just with graphics, acting, everything they did. I think his acting's impeccable in it. I do think people overshadow him in the film, but for me, it's a movie I can go back on. And the main reason why, so we've had him on the show before, is Max from Violent New Breed.
Mm-hmm.
When The Matrix came out, I think I was like in 7th or 8th grade. And he called me on the phone because we were long distance friends at the time. He just moved to Vegas and I was in Pahrump. Not that it's far, but junior high, it's far. And he described the whole movie to me over the phone. And I pretended like I knew what the hell he was talking about.
Was it close?
No, like not even, like he was telling me about like things with like a phone and like some guy who's like a corporate guy and like all these things. And I was just so enthralled with that story. And then I had to go see the movie. And then when I saw it, I was like so amazed. I went like 3 more times to the theater. It's probably the first time in my life I went multiple times besides the original Star Wars to a movie theater. But it was that good. And so that's why it's number 1 for me. There's so much more importance behind it.
Okay. So if I were to rank mine, so I too have 2 honorable mentions. One of the honorable mentions is The Replacements. I really loved him in The Replacements.
It's a good flick. I can't believe I left it off, but yeah.
Thought he was a great character in it. To me, it was almost like an extension of his character, Johnny Utah. Because Johnny Utah in Point Break got injured. And like if he would have continued on, I think he would have ended up being his character in or Shane Falco in The Replacements, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'd go with the Replacements as an honorable mention. The other honorable mention to me, and I struggled not putting this in my top 5, is The Devil's Advocate. And the reason why I put that in honorable mentions is because I feel it's an Al Pacino movie.
Okay, I can see that, yeah.
But his performance is excellent in The Devil's Advocate, and probably if I were just to rank movies, this would be in the top 5 of Keanu movies that he's in, period. But I kind of wanted to highlight movies that he was the star in.
He's a more prominent role.
Yeah. So number 5, I agree with you about Constantine. I think the movie's kind of terrible, but I think the fact of the character, the way that he plays the character makes the movie, if that makes sense. It's such a great performance by him that I just can't discount it out of my top 5. So my 4 is going to be Bill and Ted, the original Bill and Ted. The reason why I'm going to do the original Bill and Ted is because that's the one that I was introduced to, and that one feels more at home with me than Bogus Journey, even though I like Bogus Journey more. My number 3 is Speed. And Speed is such a good film. I think Speed is an incredible film in the way that he portrayed the character, similar to that of Shane Falco and Johnny Utah. I kind of think that Johnny Utah could have been Jack Tarver or whatever his name was in Speed. Like they were almost interchangeable characters. So I just thought that was kind of cool. So Speed is my number 3 there.
Do you feel like you love Speed though too? And I'm not trying to interrupt your list, but because it's a very simplistic film based on one stupid concept, that they can make a whole, like it was like back in that day, like if you look at 80s films, like with Tom Cruise, right? Like Cocktail.
Yeah.
Like I feel 80s movies were like the epitome of like stupid fucking movies. Like they're great,
very simple plots.
But it was like, hey, let's make a movie about a cocktail guy.
Roadhouse.
Makes cocktails. Or Roadhouse. He's a bouncer in a roadhouse, right? Like it's like, hey, let's put a guy on a bus and the bus can't stop.
Yeah.
And he might have sex on the bus, but he's going to drive the bus and he's good looking and he's going to save the bus and the bus will just go and it'll speed. And that's what we're going to call it, Speed. Like that sounds like what they did in Hollywood. They're like, hey, let's make money on a movie about a bus just driving fast.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'm totally with you there because like I said with Roadhouse, it was very much about, oh, we've got a great movie about a bouncer. And like this bouncer is going to go be a bouncer at like some other bar. And he's going to get into a fight with like the town bully. Like it's just a very simple storyline. And so with Speed, I totally give you that one. My number 2 is The Matrix. I love The Matrix, but it's not my number 1 film, but it should be my number one film. And that sounds really weird for me saying that.
No, it makes sense.
It really should be my number one film. I just can't discount my number one film to a number two film or even off of the list.
Because you've said it's your number one film in every fucking film thing we talked about. Point
Yes.
Break. Oh my God, it was Point Break. Point
I
Break is
love
so
Point
good.
Break.
I love the soundtrack. I love the guys in it. Point
I
Break.
love everything about Point Break. I love Point Break how bouncers love Roadhouse. Like, I have no clue why, but Point Break is my number one film. I think it was a great meld between two great actors with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. I love the fact that they used the ex-president's masks when they were robbing the bank. I think that Gary Busey plays a great role in that film. So yeah, Point Break's going to be my number one.
Can I ask
Absolutely.
you this, Bjord?
Sure.
You worked in banks before, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with it?
No, because I liked it even more, or I liked it prior to even thinking about working in banks.
Maybe
Like,
you got a job in a bank because you love the movie so much.
I got a job in a bank because I needed the money.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't. Well, I mean, you could have done the Point Break thing and got money faster, but hey, way to go the slow route, bro. Time again.
know.
Time like the beginning.
I know. Yeah, time is an incredible thing. Speaking of incredible things, there's a lot of talk about fans of comic books wanting to see Keanu as an MCU character.
Yeah.
And when I see Keanu, I think of him as Constantine, which is a comic book character.
Me too, yeah.
But let me ask you this. Let me start with one question and then have a real quick follow-up question, and then you can answer both. Do you want to see Keanu in the MCU, number one? And number two, if so, what character would you like to see him portray?
MCU, no. DC, yes. Not just because he's already been there, but I see him more as an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
I see him more as I feel like if you put him in a hero thing, it's the epitome of you're going to always compare it to John Wick or Neo,
Right.
or Speed, maybe if it's just them in a bus. But you know what I mean? Like I don't see him as the ultra good anymore. Like, I mean, I guess if you like looked at like pictures, like people have said he could be Namor or whatever, and I could see that. But I'd rather see him in the DC universe because I think you need somebody that's got enough cred, but not too much, that can help build it up and rebuild it.
Right.
I think if you threw him in the MCU, and mind you, because there's two problems here. I don't think he's a hero that you can develop 18 films around for like the next 10 years.
Right.
Two, if they make him a villain, they're just going to waste him and it'll piss me off. And I don't want that either. I don't want to see him dead in 2 films or 1 film and be like, oh, cool. Like he was Adam Warlock. Now he's gone. He's dead. Awesome. We saw him for 30 minutes. That's the other reason because I don't trust the MCU with anything. But yeah, it would be DC. It's hard to pick the character I would want him as. Originally, I always thought, he would be a good Riddler.
Okay.
Because I think he can talk calculated things out well. Like he could talk through riddles with the Batman and make sense of it. But then I realized it just sort of seems like Robin playing a board game with Batman. It's going to seem cheesy. So I backtrack on that. I don't know what character do you want to see him as, and what universe?
I've talked about him. If he's in the MCU, I think I'd like to see him as Ghost Rider. He's got an appreciation for motorcycles anyway, just personally, and because of that, I think that would be a good fit for him. I think that he would be able to have the physique for that. Also have the skull shape, I guess, is lack of a better word for that as well.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I want the MCU to just go after every big actor just because they want the cred. I think I want some unknown characters to try to take mantles and really like introduce me to these actors, I guess. Kind of like Tom Holland as an example. Like I really didn't know Tom Holland before he was Spider-Man. Like I realized that in the UK or overseas, he was kind of a prominent actor, or at least an up and coming actor. But I appreciated that they got somebody who I wasn't really familiar with. And that's kind of what I would like to see the MCU try to do, as opposed to try to get big name people to fill the seats for their movies. I think like you, I would much rather see him in DC. I don't know that I would want him to be Constantine again, but I would like to see him as the Scarecrow in Batman.
That's a great pick, especially with his look now. What about an off character like Swamp Thing?
That would be a good one.
Because I think he could have the development story behind before he's Swamp Thing.
Right.
Go into it, not drag it on too long, but I think he could do the acting chops for it, the CGI, the makeup. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard because, let's be honest with ourselves, when you talk about a DC character, you automatically think of a hero first.
Right.
Then you think of Batman's rogue gallery second.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go for every other character after that. And so I agree with you. Like when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I don't want him a hero. I want him an anti-hero, but Scarecrow's on the top of my list. The Riddler was one of mine. But maybe an offshoot character like Swamp Thing, I think would be cool because you could develop more from it.
No, I agree with that.
Important enough for his own film, but not important enough for everything else.
Right.
But I don't know. He's just the other reason is he's such a good actor without saying anything. And Neo proved it, right? And Swamp Thing doesn't need to talk the whole time. And it's nuances of his facial expressions or how he acts out, just like putting his hand out and everything. And I think he can pull that off. And that's a rare thing for actors to do. I think that's lost, is that everybody thinks an actor needs to have lines to act.
Right.
And there are times that an actor can act so well just with their eye movements or their expressions. Like, all right, Charlie Cox is the perfect Daredevil. He acts like a fucking blind person.
Yes.
He makes me think he's really blind. That's the point.
You know, he actually has lost roles that he's auditioned for because he can't stop acting blind.
Right. Because
he has a struggle with that.
Yeah.
I was almost thinking like even to like, I don't know that he would want to have the body development to be able to do this. Not to say that Keanu's in any sort of bad shape, but he's not built. He's not ripped. You know what I mean? But almost like a Dr. Manhattan. Like if you had him as Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen, I thought that would be kind of cool because it is a sophisticated role. It is a role that is challenging, but like you said, there's a lot of acting that Dr. Manhattan would have to do that's nonverbal. And I think that would be kind of a cool role for him. If he were to be in the superhero universe at all. But yeah, it's interesting because I think that as every actor kind of enters into a big role, there's all the buzz like, oh, what character are they going to be in Marvel? Or, oh, where do we want to put them next? And I appreciate, like you said, when they put them into kind of an obscure role. You know what I mean? Like not Gore the God Butcher, because that's not an obscure role. That's a great role that they butchered. Right?
Yeah.
But I would like to have him in a role that is a good role that can have depth to it, that can offer his acting chops an ability to be sharpened on film. And I think that would be really cool.
Do you feel Keanu would, with the threesome blue dick scene, Keanu is a better owl man, like cucking and watching, or being Mr. Three Dick Man over here?
That's a great question.
Because I feel he's a better owl man. At that point, like, why? What is happening?
Yeah, I think that he would be better in that role.
Mr. Three Dick Man. I don't think he could put it in all holes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think Keanu is just a really good person, good human. You know, you see a lot of like news stories about him, about things that he's done, not only for like the stuntmen that he works with, but also just to be able to work with other actors. Like we talked a little bit about The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate's a great film. Al Pacino stole that movie.
Yeah.
But he took a pay decrease specifically to be able to work with Al Pacino. And I think that that's pretty cool. I mean, if you had an opportunity to work with somebody and you're in Hollywood and that somebody has a salary demand, I mean, would you take the pay decrease to be able to do that? I mean, I can't say that a whole lot of people would.
Oh yeah. It's like, I was an athlete, right? And I look at people like Tom Brady who take decreases all the time to win a championship.
Right.
The difference is though, do you ever see Keanu as an Oscar film person?
To be honest with you, I don't know that I've seen Keanu in a performance that I go, wow, that's Oscar worthy.
But do you think he can pull it off?
Could he pull it off? I think yes, he could. Will he pull it off? Who knows at this point? Have you seen going through Keanu's movies? Have you seen a film that just completely blew you away with acting chops?
No, because I feel like he's almost the same person in every film. It's almost like Nicolas Cage, who we talked about on the show before, right? Like he's the type of actor, like you can say that's a Keanu role,
right?
Like, and that's why it's hard to put him as a superhero role, because it's him. It's that everlasting silence with a few words that means something, but you can drag them out with a facial expression. If that makes sense. And that's a Keanu role. That's why I think your actual pick on Ghost Rider is perfect, because it's a facial expression with a few words and an acting chops that can stand and have other nuances to make it better.
Right.
No, he's never had a role that makes him Oscar worthy. I also think nothing ever will be written for him to be Oscar worthy, and the point is with that is his acting. I think his acting's impeccable. I don't think his acting is Oscar worthy. I think you could put him in a movie like Saving Private Ryan, right? And he's Tom Hanks' role, and it's not the same. It's him with that blank stare, trying to talk, and he can have the same amount of lines and the same inflection, the same breathing as Tom Hanks, and it doesn't come across the same. It's a Keanu Reeves moment. Nicolas Cage in that role, same thing. It's a Nicolas Cage moment. It's a Keanu Reeves moment. Tom Hanks has Tom Hanks moments, but they're not moments that you go, that's a Tom Hanks or a Tom Cruise moment. That's a Keanu moment.
Right.
And that's why I can never see him as an Oscar nominee. Mind you, I think he's an amazing actor. I love what he does. He's a great person on paper. Everything else, everybody that talks about him says he's so amazing. But I can never see anything even written for him to get him onto that pedestal.
Yeah, I think I think you have a great point there. I think if we're talking about a John Wick style movie, if we're talking about a Matrix style movie, Speed, Constantine, some of these types of films that he's done a very good job at, not one of those has been an Oscar performance. I do kind of, in a certain scenario, though, equate him. I think you brought up Nicolas Cage. I think that's a really good example. But I also kind of think of like a Matthew McConaughey to a certain level. Like Matthew McConaughey requires a lot of words. Just as an actor, he is not a
he's more
stoic.
Than,
he is not a stoic actor. He doesn't just bring his presence and people are like, yeah, that was great. But I do kind of see that, the Dallas Buyers Club, as an example, was a really good performance by Matthew McConaughey, where he is a drug dealer or a drug user, addict, whatever, who's struggling with the AIDS virus and becomes an advocate. And I think it's a great storyline. Could Keanu have pulled that off? I don't think so. So I agree with you. I would like to see that there would be some writing and there would be an opportunity for him to do that. But I mean, look how long it took for Leonardo DiCaprio, who's arguably one of the greatest actors in our time, to get an Oscar. And I think he got an Oscar on a terrible film. So
right, but I mean, he's also not the actor that you would put in a movie and it's the same actor all the way through with little nuances that barely make it different.
Right.
Like, all right, Christopher Walken, another example.
Yes.
There's a guy, like, it's like you there are moments that he's had Oscar performances. I'm not denying that. But it's still Christopher Walken, and you can compare him to that.
Yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio has a very extensive catalog, right? But he's a different character in every fucking movie. You look at Keanu's, and he's almost the same guy in every film.
Or he's the same 2 or 3.
Right. He's single.
Yep.
Might get a girl, chasing a girl, might have a gun, might have a puppy, something's dead.
Yep.
I'm dressed the same way.
Exactly.
I got a jacket, a shirt,
his name is
there
John.
might be rain outside. Exactly.
And his name is John.
Exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I think that I agree with you, man. I agree with you, man. But, Keanu's had kind of a rough life in certain aspects. He actually is not a U.S. citizen. I think he was born, if I remember correctly, he was born in overseas, and he ended up transplanting into Canada. if I remember correctly, and I apologize for not being prepared with my thought process there. But he still holds Canadian citizenship. He moved down to California to be able to become an actor. He struggled a lot. He struggled in school. He's had some tragedy in his life. He's
got a lot of tragedy.
Baby.
Yeah.
He's lost a baby. An ex-girlfriend died. You know, and you really see a lot of the stuff that he's gone through publicly, because we don't know everything that the guy's gone through. And overall, I mean, he's handled it generally well. I can't say that he's not mourned or not sought whatever he's needed to do to get through it. But generally, he's in the public eye. He's handled it very well. He's got a great reputation in Hollywood. Great person to look at as far as his handling of fans, his handling of other actors. You know, there's stories about him where he's missed flights and he's ended up getting transportation together, and he's taken all of the passengers, or a lot of the passengers he was supposed to fly with, to the destination, and he's been a tour guide through that time. He's taken pay cuts for stunt teams. He's a generally good dude. I mean, I really like Keanu as an actor, but definitely gone through some tragedy, man. I don't know if I were to have lost a baby, especially one that I was expecting. You know, if my sister lost her battle with cancer, if a loved one who I was supposed to marry, regardless of the outcome, went and died, I don't know that I would handle all of those all that well in the public eye. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. So he was born in Beirut, Lebanon. I know that.
There we go. There we go.
I will say this. So, like, I take it all back. We've talked this whole time. I've been a bunch of bullshit like I usually am. But if they made a film like they just sort of did with Nicolas Cage, right? About Nicolas Cage, but Keanu about Keanu. But it was like an actual, like, almost like a Pursuit of Happiness, like actual feel-good fucking film about his real life. That's an Oscar role that he takes hands down. If it's a Keanu film about Keanu.
That's a really good choice.
Of like, you make a film about him going to a movie set, and instead it's him he starts at a coffee shop, buys everybody coffee in there, talking to somebody about his life story, goes to the airport, it fails. You know, he tells somebody about his sister. You know what I mean? You make that film. It's almost autobiographical. Autobiographical about him, about himself, going through the film, playing himself to go play somebody else for a film, but you make it serious enough. That's a film I'm on board for. Make that fucking film. I'm all in.
Who directs it?
Michael Bay. Boom, boom. Make the fucking plane crash, bro. The Golden Gate Bridge. Here it is, Sandra Bullock with her facelift.
Do you think for a movie like that, like we're obviously referencing the Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage movie. I forget what that's called. But do you think it would be wise
the unbearable weight of
the unbearable weight of massive talent?
Right.
Do you think it would be wise to bring in multiple directors and try to splice it together for different time periods of his life? No,
unless you did it like, so I don't know if you ever watched this. There's actually, you haven't watched this. I know you haven't. There's an anime film on Netflix called Dante's Inferno. And you know the story of Dante's Inferno, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually pretty cool. So I love the story of Dante's Inferno, about the 7 circles of hell, you know. But they had different anime directors direct every circle of hell.
Okay.
And put it all in one film. And so it all made sense cohesively, but they had different directors do different parts. The only problem I had with it, B-word, is they did different art styles for every chapter.
Oh, see, that would really be distracting.
And that bothered me because all of a sudden I was watching it going, oh, I really like this. And then the next one was like 3D. And then the next one was like really like watercolor. And then the next one was like shell shaded. And I'm like, and the other problem is the main character looked different by it's not like they all got together and said, hey, let's make Keanu through it the whole thing. It's like, hey, let's have Keanu and then, you know, Brad Pitt and then this guy. That would be the only way it would work, is if you did it where it's an amalgamation of stories that come together at the end.
Okay. I could see that. I think you would have to find directors who could work well together. What
directors would?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. But you brought up the whole aesthetic piece of Dante's Inferno, and that kind of made me think, okay, like if you started out with Michael Bay as an example, you're going to have all these crashes and all this, you're going to have a whole bunch of shit going on. But then if you brought in like a J.J. Abrams as an example, you're going to have all those little shiny lights through part of it, like where it's all the glares.
Zack Snyder, where it's black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
Sad.
And then you end with Tarantino, where it's all like women's feet and shit. Like it I don't know. It's just kind of weird, man. I guess
I never noticed that about Tarantino's films until you pointed it out.
Oh yeah, he's got women's feet, and I'm not a foot person. I don't understand that.
But here,
thing.
okay,
That's, like,
look at his
me,
jawline, dude. That's a guy that is a foot fetish.
You can tell by a person's jawline.
Look at all right. Tell me this. Look at Tarantino. Does that look like a guy that has a foot fetish?
I mean, I think the guy would be into some weird shit. So I guess probably yeah. But
yeah, there you go. Just the jawline alone, like the way he stares at you. Like, all right, if you had somebody like this in a dressing room.
Yeah. So what the audience doesn't see is Jake is protruding his chin out, and he is trying to look like Tarantino.
I mean,
but he
I'm
actually
just trying to say there's blood in the film, and I can't fucking help myself. There's a lot of blood.
It's really funny though, because when you started talking, you look more like De Niro than you did.
Well, that's because I was squinting really hard. I was trying really hard to portray Tarantino, and I failed.
Yeah, that's great. So we have some exciting news.
Yes, we do.
We went ahead. We launched our Patreon. We have some great subscribers. So just a real quick shout out. We've got Jordan, Aaron, Travis, and Josh. Thank you all for your subscriptions so far. We're excited to have you a part of Salty Hippo Nation, and we promise you we're going to do our absolute best to put out some great content. But the content that we're putting out, our very first show is going to drop. It's Hippo Happy Hour. It's going to drop on September 1st, and we're actually going to record the stain remover here soon, and I'm really excited for that. As far as the Patreon goes, Jake, what can some of our audience members expect?
Extra shit, me and you being more inappropriate, 2 extra segments that'll drop once a month. We have the Hippo Happy Hour. Essentially, me and you at the end of a work week or a work month, I guess we could put it, where we just BS with our favorite bartender. And then K-Salt Radio. You really want to tune in. You want to find out what we would be like if we were actually on radio, having some segments, where we could hit the little buttons that make us sound lame, like ooh, or whatever, some Krusty the Clown crap. If we wanted to play around and have, giveaways and stuff like that, but also for the top tier subscribers, you will get merch.
Yes.
And if you like merch and you like Bleach Bros, be sure to go over to Patreon. Help us out. We love making stuff for you. We also love to make stuff for ourselves. It is fun, but let's all do this together.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check out our linktree / Bleach Bros podcast. I think it is all one word. And check out our podcast page there. Check out the Patreon. And if you subscribe, I promise we're going to try to put out the best content we can and have a lot of fun with that.
B-Word's doing a way better job than I am, everybody. So
No, I can't. Here's the thing, man. We've talked behind the scenes. We can't be Bleach Bros without each other.
No, we have to bleach to these buttholes. It's hard to reach around.
Well, especially for me, man. I got an equator around my stomach. So
I love you, bro.
But anyway, man, I love you too. But with that, man, what do you got for me?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized. If you're a fan of our show, be sure to check out this one to stay sanitized.
Are you all caught up on podcasts? Are you tired of listening to the same music over and over and need some fresh new tracks? Well, look no further. Gnome here, and I'm teaming up with The Hater, The Tailgater, The Tiraider, and Zuck's favorite prisoner. That's right, Jake from the Bleach Bros podcast. We are bringing you the Hateful Gnomes Music Hut, a bi-weekly mini podcast all about music. We are covering music recommendations, bands, personal stories, concerts, even why Jake listens to the Beebs. Make sure you are following both the Bleach Bros and the Dads on Daypool for updates. Episodes are alternating on both feeds. Raise the curtain, hit the lights, turn the dials to 11, horns up, we are live, baby.